Thank you to our sponsors, K. Flynn Insurance, elect Bruce Becker for the Lincoln County Fire Board, and the Crafty Midwestern Mommy for their continued support of the Lincoln County Podcast. Hey everybody, another episode of Lincoln County Podcast today, and we have a very special guest. Very excited to sit down and talk about her career and everything she does and what she does here in Lincoln County and how long they've been here. So if you help me welcome my guest, Jamie, I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce herself and what she does, and we'll go from there.
Hi, my name's Jamie. Sorry, I'll
You're
get
good.
it at some point. My family purchased the funeral home, Kemper-Keim Family Funeral Home. I guess it was in January 2021. I'll move it closer. Is that better?
You're good. I was just
Okay.
adjusting mine. You're fine.
All right. So I started out in the funeral industry. I was a sophomore in high school, mowing grass, cleaning cars, and fell in love with the industry. And so now I manage it for my dad.
Really? So you fell in love with the funeral industry?
Yes.
That's cool. There's not a lot of people that probably would say that. I've always found it interesting, when going to I guess because of my love of businesses or small business in general, like watching, being there as a teen or something, kind of watching the business of it, the people at the door, like everybody doing their job and stuff, that it's not something people really think of, but it is a small business. It is a business. There is a job. There is a fee. There is different things that go with it. And a lot of them are family owned. And that's what's so wild about it, is all the different things. And I would say, if I was asked to give a list of businesses, that would not be something that I would think of immediately. So what was it that kind of made you fall in love with it?
So we experienced a death in our family. I was, like I said, a sophomore in high school. And whenever I walked into the door, it was just that homey family welcoming. And not being a stranger, of course, I became friends with the people that were working at the funeral home, their staff and everything instantly. And they asked if I wanted to start working there. And I told them no at first, because what sophomore in high school wants to work at a funeral home? Let's be real. And then it was a few weeks later, they called me again. And I remember I was walking out from the Troy Buchanan High School down to the sophomore parking lot. And they asked me again. And of course, I said yes. And immediately, once I walked in the door there, it felt like I said, home. And from mowing the grass, cleaning the cars, meeting with families, assisting with families. Then I immediately went to going on removals, working visitations. Now, mind you, I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to actually be a vet or a chiropractor. I wanted to go either into one of those two lines of work. So the funeral industry wasn't forefront in my mindset for what I wanted to do, but just kind of being in love with our community and seeing how much you can serve. That's where I then landed. I went into the corporate field for a few years, right out of high school, because I thought this really isn't for me.
Yeah.
And so immediately then, after I was in the corporate field, I decided that this wasn't what I wanted to do. Really?
That's really cool. I mean, you got to think about it. What you guys do is super important. It's not like that industry is going to end. It sounds really bad, but it's something that's always going to be around. We're always going to have a need for it. It is something where you're meeting such a need for people at such a vulnerable and such a hard time. Some people really do not handle death well.
Correct.
I've met so many people that it's a very traumatizing thing. And I guess my parents handled it a different way with me when I was younger, that I just understand it's a part of life. We're all here, we're all gone. So, dealing with people at that moment in time and that moment of need and extreme grieving, that's hard. And all the hats you probably wear in running it. Now, before I get too far into it, how old is that funeral home in Troy?
So it dates all the way back to 1869.
Wow.
With the Kempers. Kemper's family was the one that originally founded the funeral home. And then it was sold to the Marshes. So Miss Marsh, that lives next door to the funeral home, it was her family's funeral home. And then it went, Mr. Millard then purchased it. And that's who I started working for. He owns, I think, probably 16 to 20 funeral homes throughout the state of Missouri. So.
Okay, I'd say that name sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. He's still very active.
That's awesome. So how long is that building? Has it been the same building the entire time?
So that funeral home, the foundation started in 1902, and then the stick structure in 1903. And then it became a funeral home in 1946, I want to say.
Wow. So what, this sounds bad, but like, Troy's not big now. What all was even around back then? I mean, I would assume I've been in a few of those houses there, so I know a couple of those houses were built around that time. We just painted one down the street that was getting ready to turn 100. The homeowners told me when we were there, so I would assume, dating by kind of thinking through the neighborhood in my head, there's some around there, but definitely not like it is now.
So that house was originally built on 5 acres. We have a picture of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which way? Like the 5 acres that go behind it? Was it like
It was
just
all
in
the
the
way
middle
just
around
in the
it?
middle of 5 acres. Yeah.
So what had been their yard is now the park and things like that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so cool to think about that stuff, because I think we get stuck in such a a time capsule of where we live at now. Well, this is how it is now. And then you see something. I always love it. Growing up, my family was from North County off St. Charles Rock Road, and I would run around those areas. My dad's 81. So he was much older than me always as a kid. I was his 40th birthday present. So he'd always tell me about all these places in the 50s and 60s and how he ran around and getting in trouble for drag racing. He's like, heck, we got stopped right here. Now this is where 270 is at. And we had to walk back to the Rock Road. And I'm like, whatever, plenty of. He's like, no, you don't understand. There was nothing here. St. Charles Rock Road was just was just a regular road, maybe a 2-lane. Like it wasn't what you're thinking of. So then when I see stuff pop up, like old photos of Chuckaburger that show what that area was for my dad's generation, is always interesting. When Dan Heckler shares stuff on Troy, old photos of Troy, I find it really, really cool. Like just the way the town has grown. Like I didn't know till sitting down with Mr. Steen, we had the ATA school, that 47 came into town and then went up Main Street. It wasn't what it is now.
Yeah.
And it made the old landscape of Troy make so much more sense to me. Because I always wonder, like, why is our Main Street kind of
the way it is
kicked off to the left if you're going through town? But my brain never really thought, well, 47 probably didn't always arc the way it does. I just think of that as old and waiting for the new overpass.
My favorite part is actually listening to the stories. Some of the, the older generation that'll come in and say, back in the day, because the funeral home actually used to run the ambulance service as well. So it's neat listening to some of the guys come in. Well, whenever we used to come in and jump in the ambulance and would go run that call for Miss Marsh, or would go run that call for her, and then, or would come in and go do a removal for her, or we had Christmas upstairs with the family, or Thanksgiving.
Wow.
That's my favorite part, is to hear some of the history behind that building and the families that have been through the funeral home. So
yeah, we painted the basement in Anchored Hope Church for them for a community room. And he said as they kind of cleaned it up and started doing it, that they had someone stop by and their parents had their wedding shower there. Or not wedding shower, after the wedding, the reception. Had the reception there and different things. He said it was really cool. They were so excited that the room was now just not a storage area, that was being brought back to life and used. And I hadn't thought about it while him and I were sitting there talking, and with the floor kind of slopes or things, I was like, man, I can just feel the kids running around. Like, I've been to those when I was a kid. We would have been running and sliding and destroying our dress clothes, trying to slide down the floor, or this and that. Like, those stories are so unique to an older or a smaller community. That stuff gets bulldozed down in other places. Correct. I paint houses in Kirkwood all the time where the people are like, just slap a coat of paint on it so the city leaves me alone. They're buying up the neighborhood and leveling 2 and building 1. And it's just that's lost, and that's not lost in Troy.
And that, like I said, whenever I walked into that funeral home, we have that homey feeling there. It's not a corporate setting. And I think that that's what draws me to that funeral home so much. And that's why I stayed there. I had plenty of opportunities to go to different firms throughout the county, even to St. Charles County, but I stayed there because of that environment. And that's why I'm excited to continue to serve the community that I'm a fourth generation of, and to be able to raise my daughter there as well. So that's
really cool. I know the other day when Casey and the kids were up there, she's like, they just took Jocelyn around, or shouldn't we come in like a back door? And I was like, no, this is what their family does. I was like, explain. I'm like, this isn't the same way as you guys see it. This is what they do, and it's that family feel that's fine. That's okay. It's someone passed away. We're celebrating their life, and here's what we're doing. And she was just like, yeah, I was texting, do we need to come in like a side door, or no, just come in the front? And I was like, that's why what she does is she's so good at it, and it makes it so special. Now, you said that was the ambulance and the the funeral home?
So back then it was the ambulance service and the funeral home all in one.
I don't know how I'd feel about that. Someone calling me an ambulance that was going to go back to the funeral home. If it's a little too close quarters, be like, nah. Because I know my dad had some surgery and he was 79, 78, 79, and a lot of the physical therapy places are at retirement homes. And he's like, you're not taking me to one of them. You'll not come get me. I'm like, oh, I'll come get you. You'll drive them nuts. They'll make me. Stop it. But because they were in the same place as a retirement home, he's like, I ain't being put in there with all them damn old people. Like, it's too close quarters. Now, if the rehabilitation facility would have been down the street, it would have made my life much easier. Yeah. Because we could not get him to go to one. He's like, nope, you're going to leave me. I'm like, I could see that. I call the ambulance. No. I know where it goes back to tonight. It spooked me. So what are your, like, I know there's got to be a lot more behind the scenes that goes on in that industry with, families show up on a Saturday, there's a wake, boom, funeral, boom. But there's got to be a lot of coordination, a lot of logistics. You've used the term removal, and I know we've spoke before when you're like, gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, is that where you go and get a body?
So yes, of course, I'm not a 9-to-5 job. I mean, even like you've stated before, you can't be the fun mat all the time. You have commitment. You have things to take care of. Your kids know that too, that when you got to work, you got to work. And
we cleaned the shop yesterday after the family left for Christmas. So I get it.
So Lucy's my 10-year-old daughter. Of course, she's been raised in the funeral industry. She knows what it's like. She knows that when we're busy, and that's just kind of part of life. And she also understands that with me having the business and having the flexibility that, if we're at school, like sometimes I am, and Casey kind of laughs at me. Whenever I get that call, I have to drop what I'm doing sometimes and go, and that's just kind of part of it. But yes, whenever we do get a call, a removal, it could be at 3:00 in the morning. It could be 3:00 in the afternoon, but we're available 24/7, of course. So either myself or my dad and one of our team members, we then go out and bring their loved one into our care. And then we start the entire process for the family, whatever their final disposition might be.
Yeah, I'd say it's something I never would have thought of. I would, you get a call, okay, someone, we're going to take care of this and that. Got to go meet the funeral home, got to do this. Like, you think of that part, but you don't really think of what they're doing behind the scenes. The only thing I ever thought of with funeral homes, my dad was a hairdresser. He worked at General Motors. He became a hairdresser in the early mid-60s, something like that. There was a big layoff. GM, him and his buddies decided to meet women. They would go become hairdressers. That's how his brain operates at that age and currently. And he always wanted to work for a funeral home or a mortuary doing makeup and hair. No real reason other than he just always thought it'd be enjoyable. And, he said, dealing with regular clientele can be a problem. This would be something that would be good. It'd be giving back. You're helping them. There's so much more to it. And I think we just all kind of forget that process. So from the removal state, you guys are in their care, then you're dealing with the family. And then you personally, though, do some of those. Like,
yes, I went to mortuary college. So I do the embalming, cosmetics, the hair, all of that. I received, like I said, after I started there at the funeral home, and I decided that this is what I wanted to do. I graduated high school, of course, and immediately I went into the funeral industry. I received my funeral director's license. I'm a pre-need agent. I have my Missouri life insurance license as well. And then I had to serve an apprenticeship and go to college and everything for my embalming license. So I do it all.
That's crazy. See, I never thought that. And I don't remember what event we were at. We were doing something. Casey's like, she said to go to removal. And I'm like, remove what? She looked at me and I was like, oh, no way.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I would not have thought that. For anyone listening, you're not creepy at all. I would have, when I've met people over years, they're like, I want to work at a funeral home. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, they're a weirdo. Like, it's not something that would be the predisposition for most people to be like, you. Or that's weird. But when you really step back and look at it from a mature standpoint, that's our final moments on this earth. And that is probably next to probably childbirth, one of the craziest things people go through as humans emotionally, physically, not just the ones that pass, but the family members and that position that you guys are in to take care of them. I mean, that's just, it's a wild career path to take because it is so emotional and it is one of those things that it's got to be taxing.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. But then when you, like I said, you step back, it's like, whoa, there's all this stuff going on in the back. So you do the embalmings, you do hair, makeup, you take care of all of that to present the loved ones at the funeral.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is wild. And you guys do that in-house, taken care of
Correct.
there.
Yes. Yeah. It gives me, I don't know, the peace of mind knowing that I can treat every family as if they're our own. You know,
Yes.
we're not sending it to be outsourced anywhere. So, and that's what our motto's always been. You enter as a stranger and you leave as family.
Yeah.
That's what I
Well,
strive for.
and from a point, and this sounds really terrible, but I got to call my mom listening. There's a point where I have elderly parents.
Mm.
Most people don't think about this stuff till it happens. I'm a planner. I plan everything to a point of almost should be knocked over the head. Sometimes I plan stuff so much. So I know this is something that's going to become a very big reality for me sooner than later. My parents are both 80 years plus. Dad's health hasn't been that great. You know, you and I have talked. I know that this is something I'll deal with. And it puts you at mind knowing that you're dealing with someone that really does truly care and wanted to do that to help those people and has that caring heart. Like we've never really even talked about, we've talked about business, talked about Sean Whalen, talked about Andy Frisella, we talked about podcast stuff. We've never talked about this stuff, but you can really see it when talking to you, how much like it does matter to you. You do have a big heart for that and helping these people through that time.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that, you know, there's a lot of YouTube channels telling kids that they should do one day. There may be people out there that have found that interesting or have went through a lot of grieving at a young age. I feel like because of my martial arts family being so extended, I went to a lot of funerals at a young age. I remember getting very upset at the first one we took Ben and Jocelyn to because sister-in-law went to grab them and run them up front to the casket right away. And I wanted to handle that a very strategic way so they're very comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. And they are now. We've talked about it, worked through it. It's not a traumatic thing for them. I watch some people make it so traumatic on a child. They don't really comprehend it like we do. So why not? Let's work them through it and make it something that's comfortable because they're going to deal with it a lot in life.
Well, and I think that that's another thing. Being able to read a family and their situation, and then also being able to read whenever there is children involved, also being able to read that individual child as well and what you can do. And most funeral directors probably don't do this, but I do. What I can do to help them get through that. Because, you know, if it's mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever it is that's passed, I try to do something so that way they can get through the process. And it's not so much, I mean, yes, they're going to be upset, but something to help them find closure because they need that.
Yes. Well, so we follow a lot of the same social media stuff. You follow Andy Elliott. Mm-hmm. You can't be an Andy Elliott sales guy. You can't be popping up off the floor doing push-ups, give him a real strong handshake, be like, hey, we're going to seal the deal for you today.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, there is a finesse to what you're doing. You're dealing with people in a wild state. I've been through a couple different funerals with family members, not directly, but kind of been in the loop with them or been in the rooms. And I mean, everything can go sideways. You never know what's going to happen. My mom and my aunt showed up for my grandmother and found out my one aunt had ran off with the money. And they're all looking, going, well, who's going to pay? Why didn't she show up today? Well, they found out she was cleaning the house out. Shit like that happens. It's not just the trauma of that person passing away, but there may be a lot, you know, I would hope most families all come together and, hey, we're here to support you. I know, like, when my dad passes, it's going to be a shit show with the family and with everybody else. I'll probably end up in jail. But
I'll have bail money for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be crazy. And so then dealing with what you do on top of that, it takes a special person. But there are people out there that do like that are. I always thought it was cool when we would go to a funeral home and I like to dress up. Guys are all suited up. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Opening doors. Can we get you anything? The hospitality business of it was amazing to me. And then as I got older and had business, you know, we'd go to a funeral for somebody that I wasn't super attached to, I guess, to be a safe way to watch it. And I would just kind of study the business of it. And the rooms are always so beautiful and they're always old. They're always a well taken care of, respected place for the most part. Clean, you know, just it feels like like going back in time, like I'm pretty sure there's places in the world where there's modern funerals with probably some wild stuff going on, you know.
Outside of the box.
Yeah. You know where I'm going with that. Like there's probably some weird stuff that blow you away. But it seems like such a timeless business as far as traditions passed down. Is that something you found with a lot of its passed down teachings?
I would say yes. It depends upon what area you're in. I mean, like throughout the state of Missouri, what you're describing is yes, but then you go to like California, it's more of the modern, kind of more along the
What would
terms.
you say by like modern? Like, do you this is your business? Do you have an example? Because like I can only imagine.
Yeah, so they're more along the what's the newest, the greatest things, technology wise. Of course, cremation rates are higher there than they are here in Missouri. So it's hard to explain. Their chapels are a lot smaller than what we're seeing, but that's kind of a thing that's starting to kind of grow this way as well.
Really? Now, so like with any industry, there's trade shows, there's channels to market and to teach and things. Is there a lot of that stuff like in that industry?
Oh yeah, we have, of course, all the conferences, and there was one just in Las Vegas, and
I bet the puns are great.
Yes, I was
bet
waiting
the puns
for
are amazing. I could only imagine trying to write a hook or something for a convention like that and just shit. Say it's a da.
Yeah.
Dope, that won't work. Like
as for what you were saying about me going to the senior fair.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like I could see it. I was curious on that part because it's it's got to be there. There's someone teaching sales behind that stuff. Not all of us are just here to do a job and follow what our passion is. There's a lot of people that look at every situation and think, how can I make money? So that's why I was saying I can only imagine with the way everybody tries to spin and make everything modern. Everybody's so quick to everything needs to be new and different. And I've even learned that lesson in business. Like, well, I got to do it a new way, not the way my people did it before me or something. And then learning back, it wasn't broke. Why fix it? So that's why I was curious, like the trade shows and stuff, like there is all that type of community.
There is. And also with the people that are trying the new ways, so a lot of the smaller funeral homes are being bought out by larger corporations because the mom and pops, they can't hold on with the high rise and cremation rate. So that's why you're seeing the technology, all of that kind of taking over, and it's starting to work this way. As you see, I mean, in our area, it's not really happened yet, but it's starting to, like, some of the larger firms in St. Louis, St. Charles, and everything, they're, like I said, being bought out. So I don't know if it'll really come this way or not.
Yeah. So without like taking away from the family aspect or the respect issue with what this is, you're dealing with people's loved ones. Like there is an actual business to it. There's got to be people that are like, you know what, if you do this, you can probably offer more services in a weekend. Boom, boom, boom. I could show you how to get an ROI. Like there's got to be people out there doing that.
There's price shoppers. Yes.
Yes. Well, not even price shoppers. The people teaching you like, I show you how to turn that around and whip that up. You guys would be churning out, so many dead bodies a week. Like you could see people that could horrify that industry with that. But you said like with cremation rates being different, what is it that affects that, like differs from a regular burial? Obviously they're cremated, but how does that affect the business side of it, if you don't mind?
So, I mean, with cremation, you have to understand that you're not able to honor a legacy that's left behind. Yeah. And so some families are okay with that and others are not. And so with our family, we strive to honor the legacy. That's what life is all about. I feel like that's the closure that a family truly needs. I see some families that they say, we're just going to go direct cremation. We're not going to, have any services. Yeah. But having a kid, it's important.
Well, isn't there like actual psychological studies on why we need closure?
Yes.
Because that was originally my dad and I had talked about that, about he didn't want nothing. And I was like, that's cool. He's like, just throw me out in the garage, the car parts. I'm like, planned on it. You're not going on, because he wants to be current. I'm like, you're not going on the mantle. I'm not. No. I was like, or we could spread them somewhere, whatever you want. But the more we talked, I'm like, we have to do something because it's unhealthy for everyone around it.
Correct.
You know, it's like we don't have to do anything big, but isn't there something like that? They need that closure.
Yes, for the grieving process, of course there is.
Yeah.
So being in the funeral industry, of course, we kind of joke around about this. My dad, he set up his pre-arrangement. That's pre-arranging a funeral, of course. And his is direct cremation. And he always tells me, I don't want anybody to view me. I don't want that. And you know how honoring my dad is.
Same talks I've had with mine.
Yeah. And so I told him, I was like, well, after you pass, it's not left up to you. It's left up to your family.
Same talk I have with mine.
Yes. So that's kind of our joke right now. I'm like, you don't have a say even while you're alive. You sure in the heck aren't going to have it after you pass. So
yeah. Well, and I would say that it's really hard on people not to have that closure. And I never really thought about it till you said something about the cremation, you know, cremations being on the rise, that there are so many people that it's a celebration of life and there's some pictures and you know, it's just here and there and it's done, instead of giving them that viewing. I've told my dad I'll honor, because my mom and dad both want to be cremated. But I get what you're saying with the viewing and that closure and people coming through. That's got to take a toll. That's got to be different. Are they noticing like a reason for the rise and just cremate me and move on?
No, some families it's just their preference.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it being a financial thing too.
Yes.
But also just people's preference, just not wanting the body viewed, or I guess not having, I've been to big funerals. I've been to little funerals. I've been to, one, my dad's, I think it was him. My dad got a call. My dad was adopted as a little boy. Basically, 1943, 44, something like that. Well, my grandpa moved, 43, 44, basically sold. It wasn't even like a legal adoption back then. I don't think there was the whole process now. He talks about 2 cars met on road. Grandfather walked him over, handed the guy, passed the cash. Yep. He hopped in the back seat, went home with Bo and Essie. And that's kind of how it works. So we got a call to come to his biological father's funeral. My dad did not want to go. His sister really wrote him. My dad's like, whatever. We had a 76 Corvette. My dad's like, hop in. We'll throw some suits on. We'll go up there. Not thinking about the fact that it was an excruciatingly poor community. No doors on the houses. They had plywood. They slid over doors. We pulled in. This is in the 90s, but it was still in a red Corvette. We looked like assholes. And my dad, my dad's sitting there, like, we backed in. Everybody's staring at us. And my dad's like, shh.
And we're overdressed.
Oh, yeah, my suit was purple. My parents would take me out to Northwest Plaza to buy my suits when I was a kid. I had a green one. I had a purple one. I look good.
Did you have a Santa Claus one?
Huh? Nope. No Santa Claus one like Ben. Okay. That's but I did have one later. We got there and it was a cardboard. I think it was like I think it's what they use for cremations, maybe caskets, what they lowered them in. It was a state funeral or something like that. I don't remember all the details, like 12 or 14. I just remember there was no door on the funeral home. It was just, you just walked in. It was just it probably, even looking back, probably wasn't a funeral home. It was probably just like a hall in town.
Rented it, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it was like the guys in bibs, no shirts on type poor community.
Hey, don't be knocking bibs. My dad wears bibs.
Well, I mean, no shirt though at a funeral.
He definitely wears a
I'm
shirt,
in my suit, going, my dad's like, just walk. And it was wild too, because when we come walking in, everybody's like, who are you? What you doing here? Like, my dad's like, listen, if I hit somebody, you start hitting people. We'll just get out of here. We'll get back to the car. Swing and get to the car. Because he kept introducing himself as Frank Boyer, Matthew Boyer. Well, when he was adopted, his legal name was Lewis.
Okay.
As soon as we said that, literally like something out of a Waterboy movie. Oh my gosh, it's Lewis from the city. Looked at him, he looked at me, and he's like, just go with it. I'm like, okay. Let's see where this goes. Wildest time, but to look at that funeral process and at that level, like that was the wildest thing I'd ever seen. I thought we were going to a funeral. I'm thinking a big funeral home. I'm thinking ushers at the door. I'm thinking flowers and grieving people in suits. And we pulled up to a hall with no door on it and guys out front in bibs with no shirt, smoking cigarettes, wanting to know what we're doing there in our fancy car. It was wild. So, the thought process when people think funeral, I would assume everybody assumes what I do,
Well, people don't realize the attention to detail. I guess I might take it to the next level just because I might be a little OCD about things. But as far as I have to make sure there's lines in my carpet, but, we do everything for our families. We order the flowers. We make sure, the DVDs are taken care of. We do all the printed material. If a family needs, sandwiches the night or they need a luncheon set up, we take care of that. If they want to have a luncheon at Woods Fort, we do that for them. Yeah, I mean, it's everything. I try to take off as much of the stress and the strain on the families so that way they actually have time to enjoy family time and to take care of the grieving process that they need to actually, deal with.
Well, you're serving them.
Yeah.
They're your customer, you're serving them. And that's something that I think people forget about this day and age with social media and everything online. At the end of the day, we are serving our clientele. I have to come in and be my best for my classes at night. Now, some nights that means my instructors cover because I'm grumpy, or I'm just wore out or I'm fighting off getting sick and I'm not the best choice to be on the floor that night. But we've got to take that process from them. That's why I work with a lot of real estate agents. I would tell them, I'll take this process on. I'll handle your client. I'll handle a paint job. You go sell more houses for me to paint.
And it's hard to learn to delegate, I think, too. Being a type A.
Yes.
And yes, that process is hard.
I can delegate if it's to another type A. Like I can tell some of my students, or my instructors, staff or whatever, I can delegate stuff to them because I know it's going to get done. But once there's like one little fudge, it's like, I'll just do it myself.
Yes.
But taking that off and doing that stuff for your clients, I just don't think people see that when they think funeral home.
No, most people think that we literally, it's just done. It's there. We show up, everything's taken care of, that it's the 9-to-5 job, that also, I just get to drive around in a halfway decent vehicle, that the funeral home's just maintained, and that it's easy.
Yeah, and I did see you wave at me the other day at Butler's office.
Okay.
I did see you. I was like, I'm waving back. My windows are tinted.
Yeah.
I told Casey, I'm like, tell Jamie, I did wave.
Yeah.
No, and I that's a misconception with anyone in business. Oh, they're at this event. They're at this event. Oh, they're there. They're that. Like, you had to send a text before we started this. You were out there in front. Like, time management is huge for anyone that's in business. It's something that some people suck at. And they're constantly going, why am I running so hard? And then the ones of us that are good at it, people will be like, so do you sleep? Yeah, I manage my time well because you do not like me when I don't get my sleep. I'm grumpy. Everybody pays. It just doesn't work for me. I have to have my sleep.
So you would not be a good funeral director is what you're telling me?
No, I'd be good at that because of...
You don't get a lot of sleep, so...
Well, but your schedule, you could work naps in.
Yeah.
You can figure them in, but you're going to be interrupted. But the fact of what you do, there's a greater cause. I would be good at that. Now, the removal part, the jury's out on that. I don't know. I always laugh when me and Jocelyn are like, we're going to go up and see Lucy. We're at the funeral. I'm like, I wonder if they realize that there could be like a body downstairs. Like that's part of it. What it is.
I don't think they do, just because it's such like a family friendly environment on the upper levels that no.
Yeah, what was around Halloween or something. They're like, Casey's like, oh, I think they're going to go up there and hang out or whatever. I was like, wow, I'm not. I just remember laughing. I was sitting down there with Stacy. I'm like, kids are braver than I am. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
I don't. Dealing with funerals, dealing with loss, I can handle that. That whole part of it, I understand. I still don't think I could. I don't like to touch people in general. I don't like to be touched. I actually wanted to be at one point a massage therapist because I thought it would work well with the martial arts school and I could learn sports massage, maybe help students as they were going up. And then I realized because I was talking to the girls at the school about it and I was like, they're like, oh, that would probably fit well. I was like, really?
When you're a cactus, it doesn't.
But no, like I told them, I'm like, but do you guys really think it'd be appropriate for me to rub your leg at a tournament? And they're like, ew. I'm like, see?
Yes.
They're like, yeah, good point. Because we were talking about careers is how we got on the subject and jobs and things they could do. And I was like, kinesiology, massage therapy, all that. And I was like, but I don't like to be around people that much or touch them. So that would really weird me out. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where we got into it. But with the bodies, like with dealing with people's loved ones, like that'd be a part I couldn't do. The rest of what you do, I think, is great. And that bigger purpose, that bigger meaning there for you guys. I mean, this is something, you live. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. This is something you live. It's not a part-time job. It's not even a full-time job. It is your life.
Yes, it is. So I always say that whenever you're actually in the right career path, whenever it's actually what you want to do, it's not a job, it's a hobby because you put so much time into it. Yeah, you're there. Literally, I'm there 24/7 because Lucy and I lived there.
Yeah.
So it's your calling. I couldn't be a doctor. I couldn't be in law enforcement. I couldn't be anything else. This is what God put me on this earth to do. And not only do I get to serve the families, but I get to serve the community as well. I'm able to actually to support the community, being out at the events and, having the pictures with Santa and Lucy having her hot chocolate stand and, just being a part of the community. I think that's the most rewarding part is to be able to be there.
Well, and that was one thing, like I can't say that when I started my business, I was like, oh man, I know exactly what my business plan is going to be when I move to I opened in Wentzville. I got some kind of, we did with some stuff local, but there was always some bumping here and there. It just wasn't as open to it. And when I opened the club in Troy and I went to the Chamber of Commerce and everybody's like, oh, cool. You guys want to be a part? Oh, here, we're having this. I was like, wow. And it felt so good. And then when the painting company started to grow and I was able to give back and do things, I was like, oh, this feels good. And I like this. And that is something that I chose to make a run at.
I'm Julie Forster with Crafty Midwestern Mommy, your local boutique embroidery and fabric store. I sell fabric as well as sewing notions and also teach classes. And then we also, on the other side of our business, do machine embroidery, custom apparel for local businesses, and just personalized gifts. Again, the store's name is Crafty Midwestern Mommy, and that's how you can find us on all social media platforms as well as our website.
For my business to do more. Actually, last year, for 2023, the entire year, I haven't paid for any advertising. We've sponsored 5K shirts, and we just anything that pops up. Anytime someone asks, boom, come see me, let's talk. I don't do all of them, but we do a lot of it because it's very rewarding. I'm at the store, kids are like, psst, guys got our logo on. I'm like, yeah, we'll leave the store and see our logo 20 times. Great for marketing, but it's fulfilling because we're helping with stuff in the community. We do Troy drives. We just everything. You guys are there. We do all this stuff. We all as business owners do it together. That is so unique about where we live. That is something that our area offers and reciprocates. That's what Julie and I just discussed. Like us giving, they give back tenfold, and people don't get that. People don't realize that some of us are motivated by something bigger. You are not going to get into your industry and get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do a removal and maybe be back in the office at 8 the next day to walk a client through. You can't be sitting there like nodding off, be like, hey, I had a rough night last night. Just stop crying for a minute. We'll get back. That you can't do that. You have to be on point. You have to be that driven person, and that's bigger than a paycheck.
Yes. And I think it's great because you can't get through life if you don't have people in your corner, people that are there to support you and want to be there with you. And that's what I think the best part is, if it wasn't for people like Casey and you and Miss Julie, if it wasn't for Miss Julie, I wouldn't be where I am today, to be honest, but we won't tell her that.
Yeah.
She really helped me a lot with my business plan and putting all the right people in the right places. And it takes people like that to get to where you need to be and to people to push you.
That's what when we started her episode, I was like, she is the #1 most requested person to have on. I've had people DM me, comment on it. You got to have Julie on. I know she loves what she does, but I don't think she realizes how important to all of us she is. Not just her friendship, but what she gives to everyone in the community over and above the title of her job. I guarantee I could go somewhere else, find someone else that does that job, and it would be a 9 to 5, clock in, clock out, fill your form out, put it in there, and the government will get back to you soon. It's not, hey, Julie's at this event. Hey, Julie's at that event. Hey, Julie's here. Julie should get her nails done, drop in the dojo, and just hang out, talk with me and the instructors before class or something. Like that, again, is another symbol, a sign of someone that is passionate about what they do beyond the paycheck. And that's a hard thing to teach. And that's really hard when trying to talk to people wanting to get into business. Because, and I'll get your thoughts on this. A lot of people say, do what you love and you'll always find a way to make a living from it. I don't believe that 100% because you can do what you love, but you can suck at it.
Yes.
I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think that you have to have a plan in place. I would not jump off the deep end. and I wouldn't have Dad to do what we needed to do with the business unless I had a solid business plan. I knew what I was going to do. I knew that I had plan A and plan B, and Julie helped put those people in place for my business plan with the SBDC and just made sure that it was rock solid before I'd even go to the bank for anything.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I could want to own a painting company, but that wouldn't make a difference because you have to be knowledgeable on the industry that you want to be in and know that you have the backing behind you.
Yeah, and I mean, just, you can make money at anything you do if you have the solid ground behind you. You can't just, I'm going to do this today. And I watch a lot of people do that. I'm going to do this. I've had people, a lady that was on first episode of the podcast was like, wow, how many of these have you done? I said, well, you're my first one today. And she's like, what? Wow, we were really comfortable. I'm like, well, I've been studying these for a year. What type of podcaster do I want to be? How do I want to speak? There are people that'll ask 1 word, 2 word, 3 word questions and then just sit there quietly. And I've listened to him on other podcasts explain it. That's his style. That's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to do the talking. He just wanted to prompt. It's a soft white underbelly. If you've ever seen their content on YouTube, all sorts of people, it's really interesting. But he doesn't like to talk. His favorite episodes when he gets someone on that he can prompt here and there and just sit back. Whereas, Joe Rogan does it one way, Patrick Bet-David does it one way. Everybody kind of has their way. And so I would listen to them. What do they do? How do they do this? How do their conversations go? And what direction? But then I see people that will like decide on a whim they want to do something and not look into it at all. You've got to have both. You can do what you want with your passion, but you got to have a way to, it's got to line up, and there has to be that, you have to have that black and white business part there.
Correct. And you have to always be open-minded as to how I can improve. What can I do to better myself and better my business?
Yeah. That's why I'd asked if like in that industry, there were those people that, teach you to take it on. Because there's probably a lot, and I may be wrong on this, but I would say there's a lot of people probably get into that because it's passed down.
Oh, yes.
It's a family thing that is handed down generation to generation. There's someone in that generation that's like, I don't want to do this, but, well, it's here. I got to help, I got to honor the family's wishes, and they've got to learn. So,
I mean, whenever I first started there, let's see, I was probably, 19 whenever I got my funeral directing license. So I started managing right away. And whenever somebody would walk in the door, normally it's the older generation, they would walk in and say, is your grandpa here, or your grandma or mom or dad? Is there somebody here I could talk to about XYZ? And I would just have to smile and say, no, I'm it. And most of the time they didn't want to talk to me because number one, I was young. Number two, I was a female in the industry. And at that point in time, that was really unheard of for both of those things. So I had to earn my way for people to actually respect me and value what I had to say. So, that's what, speaking of the generation thing, and it takes a while to get there.
Hey, I'm 41 now, and I still have people be like, oh, so your dad was a painter? Nope. You just started a company? Yep. Oh, but he was like, I remember your dad. He was really into martial arts. Nope, he got his black belt because he made me a bet when I got mine. If I got my black belt, he said he'd get his. And I got my black belt, so he had to get his. I've never quit.
Yeah.
Because I quit T-ball, so they assumed I'd quit martial arts. I was like, no, I told you 100 times I don't like T-ball. But people automatically assume, even at 41 years old, that because those are typically something that's generational. I have tons of friends of mine, their parents were really into martial arts. It just kind of fell to them. That's what they do now. Whether they took over school or whatever, or the trade jobs are like that. I've got a lot of guys I went to high school with or grew up with that probably run something now or manage it or took over from a family member, not knocking their work, but that is very common practice. So I could see that because I know with martial arts, when I opened the school, I was 26. I looked 19, and people would come in and they're like, Scooter, well, my nickname was Skippy. We're going to let that
Good
out
to
on
know.
the fucking podcast. My nickname was Skippy. I come from a health ed teacher, and my instructor, Vern, ran with it. And people would look at me and be like, Skippy here's going to teach my kid to fight. Okay. It was hard. I had no students in there. I remember sitting there telling people, man, I love what I do. I'm going to be really good at it. And they look in the gym, and I'm like, they'll be here. I just told this story at our Christmas party, and I was like, trust me with it. So I can only imagine a situation like that. Like, it's such a wild thought process because I would not I don't know. My brain would not jump to that, but I also know when Casey came on board with the painting company helping us, how many people would push back. Well, let me talk to Matt. How many women would push back? I'll just call Matt honey. Oh, that was a good way to get cold dinner.
Yes.
That would wild I guess would that be sexism in the different industries. So I wouldn't have even thought that with you at 19, getting that kind of pushback.
Well, and my grandmother, she ran her own business, which then my mom has taken over since she's passed. So like hard work ethic runs in my entire family.
Yeah.
My dad, he owns and operates his own business as well, and then works part-time for other businesses, and then he owns the funeral home. So hard work ethic is strong in my family. My dad actually started at the funeral home in Ellsbury, O'Garland, way back in the day. And then he went to another funeral home in Troy and then came over to the funeral home and then he bought that one. So, but he actually is managed by me now. So even though he still owns it, he's managed by me is what I say.
Yeah. No, you're in charge.
Yeah.
No, and that's something that people would think about though. They would see you being younger and think, well, there must be an older person with more, whereas I guess because of my passion for entrepreneurship, I'd be like, really? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like that's exciting.
Yeah, but it's not for somebody in the older generation though.
No.
So
I feel like that's with modern media and things, I feel like that is changing. Like I know a lot of people will, like, I don't really have people balk at the fact when I have my teens at the school help teach class. Like they do it for a while. People are like, hey, aren't you going to teach a class? It's like, well, yeah, but what happens if something happens to me? I have to teach them to teach. Like I'm always thinking, what if I fell, painting houses, I'm on ladders. Well, if I hurt something, I've got to have people in place to take care of the businesses. I have employees that count on me. But people are much more open-minded to that stuff nowadays with all the younger entrepreneurs that have done so well. I think it's a little more respected. But I could definitely see in that industry, that is something you expect an older gentleman of a certain stature to come out. Oh, we'd love to take care of you. I laugh all the time that there's actually I think it's a Sherwin-Williams ad. And the painter looks like Santa Claus in painting bibs. And I'm like, that's what everybody expects. They open the door and I'm in bright colored Nikes on the front porch. They're like,
that your kids
you selling us auto
yeah.
warranties, bud? Like, what are you doing here? No, I'm gonna paint your house. Oh, okay. I bid one today and I caught the guy kind of looking down at my tennis shoes. And I was talking about scaling the side of the house. I wasn't in work boots covered in paint because that's unprofessional. Go to a job site. I have those. They're at home. They're in the closet. I wear them. I could see that though. I could see it really baffling people with your industry and you having probably made you why you're so good today is from having to battle that.
And even today, whenever a family walks in, most of the time they still don't expect somebody like me to walk forward because I'm not your typical funeral director, I guess.
What do they expect? The crypt keeper?
I guess maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't. I would think you look professional. I wouldn't see that, but I could. Like I said, I still get that when I show up. You're the painter? I still get that comment, and it's, whereas the guy that looks like what they're wanting is going to be standing on the front porch smoking a cigarette
without a shirt on.
Yeah, well, it's going to have paint all over him, look like shit, probably smell terrible.
Yes.
A paint rep sat me down once and said, when I started really getting traction in the painting company, people were, hey, what the hell is he doing? And he's like, well, first of all, he doesn't smell like cigarettes and paint when he goes to the bids. He's like, let's just start, you guys, because my paint rep was like, I just wish they could start with that. We could do so much for them. And the going after work, having paint all over your ears and a cigarette hanging out isn't a great example. Correct. But people have a predisposition in their head, a preconceived notion of what they're looking for. And I could see that. That's why I was curious when you said about the modern, the stuff changing with the funerals. All I could think of was like PowerPoint, YouTube videos, I had thought about that one time where they have like a video for, if you're watching this, I probably passed on. Like,
we've had some that have wanted to pre-record, like them singing and all, but it never worked out. But we've tried it. Yeah,
I would say I could see that, or I could see people getting really wild with it. Like, we're gonna have a techno party for mine, and they're up there like getting really into it. Just could be just very odd.
Yes. We like to strive though for the personalization. We're not, I guess, like the cookie cutter funeral home. We've had a Harley in the chapel.
That was recent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the night Ben and Jocelyn might have been there.
I think so. Yeah, it was actually.
I think that was the night. Casey's like, there was a motorcycle in there. I'm like, it probably meant a lot to him. but it was inside. I'm like, that's because they're doing that for them. I was like, I want mannequins in wearing my uniforms. And she's like, knock it off. I'm like, just saying.
Well, you told the funeral director so I can hook you up.
There you go. Yep.
But we've had tractors in the front yard. I mean, we do whatever we can to help honor that loved one's life. So,
and that is the difference between using a local small business. I hate to use the term small business, but till Julie and I were discussing it, until I patent a new word, that's just what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But using a local business that puts your needs in front and takes care of you over, here's our plans. We have A, B, C, and D. Which plan would you like today? Like, I could only imagine that lack of compassion in that industry.
Yeah, and plus we're also, like you said, out in the community, serving the community.
Yes.
We're not the Amazon. I always kind of giggle at that. I'm like, we're not the Amazon where you're going to order your package and never see it again. Like, we're out there, we're there. So,
well, and you could see your money going back into the community. Something Julie and I spoke on that. More of us need to tell our story about the stuff we do in the community and showing our faces more. And it's not bragging. It's letting people know that when you spend your money with us, it's going back. There's that post about, Coca-Cola doesn't sponsor your kid's baseball team. Last year, that's where all my money went, sponsoring teams. Anything that comes to me, I don't go out and openly search for it because I don't have the time. But if someone comes in, we can sponsor it. We make it happen. The local businesses do that. The local businesses get T-shirts. Local businesses bring drinks. The local businesses do that. But we all don't always show that. And it's something I've worked on the past year of putting out there more of all the stuff I did. Because sometimes I would just count on whoever I did it for to share it. And it's not that I want the bragging part of it or I want people to do it, but I want them to know that when you spend your money with us, it goes back to your community. When you come to Boyer Academy, that money is going right back into the school district to snacks, to stuff they need at the schools. I buy stuff for New Horizons all the time. I provide them chairs. I provide them cooktops. I get a list from them regularly and we'll hop on and order it. Or I'll go to the store. Like the chairs they wanted, I actually had in perfect condition that would hold up really well. Because what she originally wanted, I was like, man, I think the kids flopping in them, they're going to last you 2 weeks. Because they were on Amazon. They were not, I kept telling her, it's not the price.
It's the quality.
But teens flop. You want something. I was like, I have some commercial black leather chairs that'll be comfortable, and they're going to have to throw them off the building and destroy them. She's like, ooh, that makes sense. Because I was trying to tell her I wasn't worried about spending $200, but I could just see them destroying them. But that's because us small businesses do that stuff. You're everywhere. You're at all the events. That's how we've gotten to know you, is from everything that all of us, we're always at the same things.
Besides, I'm going to be Ben's future mother-in-law.
Oh my gosh, dude, he cracks me up. Anytime we drive through, anytime I see one of your billboards, I'm like, hey, Ben, what?
Yeah.
He turns and looks the other way, whatever.
Funny.
I always crack it up. Both of them are too funny with it because you'll be like, first thing out of his mouth, first day of school was book bags. The whole book bag, they got the same, was the same book bag, wasn't it?
Just different colors, yes.
Different colors, yes. That was the same thing in case he's like, yeah, Jamie messed with me. Lucy said the same thing. Ben's like, what? I don't care.
And then I guess it was pajama bottoms the other day.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah. I guess Lucy wore hers and Ben had his at home, so thank God he didn't wear his.
Oh, my goodness. That would have been photo worthy. They crack me up with that. He cracks me up so much because I'll be like, oh, hey, Casey, why don't you call Jamie? Who? You know who? No. And we'll have to say, your future mother-in-law.
That girl?
He'll get so flustered. He is so funny with it.
Yeah.
But that's what's so cool about our community. I talked to some friends of mine. We went to Zumwalt North, grew up in O'Fallon. I could walk from my parents' house. Are you familiar with O'Fallon at all?
A little, yeah.
So Civic Park is where they used to do the fireworks and all the celebrations, just like we do everything up at the parks here in Troy. You could walk through the woods. So basically when they developed the subdivision, we called it the lagoon or the woods. But that was the water runoff, water retention for that subdivision is what it was. It backs up to railroad tracks. You could walk through the woods, up that, hop over the tracks here at Civic Park. All the older kids did it. So it was like a rite of passage when all of us got old enough and we could go up there and they'd have the fireworks and we could walk around. Who knows where our parents were? They were there. I mean, my parents were nearby, but we would run around. So if you're at Highway K and where it turns to M right there at 70, there's a big drainage culvert. I would leave the middle school. We would run past the janitor because he tried to stop us and down the hill, and we'd walk underneath that and up the service road to the house. We'd walk in the water ditch. You could do that stuff back then. the other night at Night of a Thousand Stars. Kids are running around, having a great time, visiting all the booths. There's one of us every 10 feet. So they're always seeing someone. They're always checking in. You're not getting that other places.
No.
I mean, there's other communities, obviously, in the United States like that, but a friend of mine come by the booth last year, and I was like, doesn't this remind you of when we were? He's like, yes. He's like, that's why I love the fact I moved out here. Is it's that atmosphere to where we can go those places. We can do some of that stuff, and we know there's those eyes around. There's, you're, what was it? They were doing something, and I snagged Jocelyn. I'm like, where do you keep going? Right up there, Jamie. Cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. We're good. Because I'm at the booth. Casey's doing her thing.
Yeah.
Like it's,
We're all around.
We're all somewhere, but I get a little nervous sometimes. I'm like, I haven't seen them in a few minutes. Where are they at?
Correct.
And normally one of my leadership kids from the school, one of my instructors or something's floating around. So they always normally have one of them in tow. But that's what's so great about Lincoln County. And that's what I'm really excited to do with this podcast is tell those stories, talk to the business owners, and then just talk to unique people. David Norman's going to come on with a lady that is just full of history of Troy that I cannot, or Lincoln County and Troy that I cannot wait to have on. Hopefully him and I can get a date worked out on that.
Good.
Because he said she's just got tons of stories.
That'll be great. Yeah.
And I wish I could remember her name, but
Is it Marion Kemper?
Yes.
She's great. So Feast
I believe
Kemper,
that's who it is. Yes.
So she's part of the Kemper with Kemper-Keim.
Yes. That's when you just said it, all tied it together. Like, my hobby is getting punched in the head, so you got to bear with me
that
sometimes.
And Casey, right?
Yeah. But I believe that's who he said, and was just telling me all about. She just knows so much, and so I'm excited to have her on. As we grow this, I think it's going to be really a cool place. I was talking to lady at Greenlight the other night about it. I think it's going to be a place that people can really go to really learn about the businesses in the community and the people in the community without going to our beloved I Hate Troy pages.
Yes.
I absolutely love those groups. I've never seen so many people. Realtors need to market to that group and help them people sell their houses because there are some people that just want to bitch about our community that, we can make them some good deals. I want some investment properties someday. So, but I want it to be something that's good and positive and they could really get a long-term view on who's in their community. Dr. Penny was on the other day. Great talk.
He's been a true asset to our school district.
Absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. And the passion and the truth with which he speaks about what they do, I really don't think people realize that. I can't wait to drop that episode. And then Julie's with all the different stuff that goes on and how infrastructure works. So maybe, how come we ain't got an Applebee's? It's not that easy.
No,
Clem.
it is not.
Some of that stuff is from a place of just not understanding, and I hope that we could just bring so much to people with that. There's we've had so many good episodes so far. We had the robotics team at the high school reach out about their recent win. Joe and I are working on coordinating that, going up and talking to them, bringing on a guest host from the high school to host a couple episodes and really kind of make it fun, make it a community thing. So
light and uplifting.
Yeah. Yeah, and somewhere people can, Joe Rogan talks about it a lot with a lot of the stuff on the news. You get just such a short snippet of everybody, and then they go on his podcast for 3 hours and you really learn about them. And it's so much more informational and you're able to listen to it and really learn. And that's what I'm hoping to do with this for myself too. After today, a majority of my guests are people I really don't know.
I've been following along, watching several of your reels, and a lot of them are younger and they're out to win it. Like they're powerhouses.
Katie Alio's episode was awesome. I can't wait till we drop. I just filled out the paperwork and everything the other night for the actual hosting for the long-term ones. So those are going to start coming out soon. Okay. Not just the snippets, but she was like yourself. She was really worried about it. And after we got done, she was like, that was awesome. And then the other day after a reel drop, she's like, I didn't look like a complete idiot. That was great. I'm like, no, you killed it. Like there's so much energy is going to come from it and information of people being like, oh, I want to use that business. I connected. I liked what they had to say. And for me, Casey does all the networking stuff. And you and I both know, like, we'll get maybe a 5-minute conversation at some of those. Like, you don't get enough to really learn.
No, you don't. Yeah, and sometimes it's not even 5 minutes. Sometimes it's like a, hey, how are you? And we're out. Yeah. Because there's so much going. But yeah, I think it will be great to actually have more of a background as for, because there's some things that I don't even know about Miss Julie. There's some things about, Dr. Penny that I don't even know. So I think it'll be great to find out how they actually started, some of their deep roots in the community. And like you said, it'll just be soft and uplifting.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's just, I'm absolutely drunk in love with doing this. If it wasn't for the fact that they told me how much the cameras and the software cost, I was already like, I could build one of these, I could do that. And it's like, oh, no, I'm going to come here. And the quality of what we're getting with Joey and his crew here is amazing. So we're super excited. So let's wrap up on that note. I've kept you long enough. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Lincoln County Podcast today. Thank you for coming on. Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. And leave us a comment on who you want to see on next, who you want to hear from in your community. Tag your friends. Let us reach out to them. We want to bring on everyone in and around Lincoln County. Thank you to our sponsors, K. Flynn Insurance, elect Bruce Becker for the Lincoln County Fire Board, and the Crafty Midwestern Mommy for their continued support of the Lincoln County Podcast.